Fortunately, we have a plan, Professor Frink.
Hi, good evening, ladies.
Right, Starling! What's the plan?
All right, just take your seat. Just take your seat.
So today we're going to do something a little bit different. This is the general Vezax guide for Feral Druid. There aren't really any boss mechanics to deal with as a melee DPS on this fight. He's basically a giant target dummy. You just stand perfectly still and hit him until hard mode happens, if you're doing hard mode, or until he dies if you're not doing hard mode. This guide is going to be showing hard mode. This was our week 1 general Vezax, whatever his name is, on hard mode kill. It's basically just going to be me narrating with far fewer memes than normal because, like I said, there aren't really any mechanics, so I was trying to find memes for this video and there kind of aren't any. So, you're going to see me doing a narrated guide to a live video of how I almost got rank 1, week 1, general Vezax. Hopefully this helps you a little bit, kind of determining how a long single target bear weave lacerate stacking fight is played as a feral druid. I am kind of still working on a general guide for DPS in general that's not boss specific, and I will try to get that out within the next few weeks. But still, hopefully this helps. Good luck on Vezax. Have fun watching. So we're going to get the Omen proc using Gift of the Wild. We pre-pot a speed potion, run in, basic starter here. We get 1 combo point, immediately Savage Roar, spend our other next global on either Mangle or Rake, whichever one we didn't do, go into Berserk, build up to a Rip, build right up to 5, then do another Savage Roar, and then we just shred a whole bunch. I get some lucky crits, so I'm going to Bite here, and then we just, cast Rate, we cast Shred. As soon as Berserk runs out, we go into Bear form. I probably could have done that half a second sooner. I'm building Lacerates here because it's a very long fight on one target. There should be nothing that stops me from keeping up the 5 stack the entire fight, and I'll show you in the log later that it does keep up pretty much the whole fight, which is great. And it becomes an incredibly high damage per cast ability when you're just casting it like once every 12 seconds or whatever it is to keep up an entire 5 stack. It becomes like a really high damage per cast ability, which is what we care about. At this point, when I go into bear form, you'll see I'm mangling first instead of lacerate because there's several seconds left on my lacerate, so I don't have to refresh it immediately up front, and it's much better actually if you leave the refresh of it till towards the end of your bear weave, just because it then extends how long you can be in cat in case you get a bunch of omen procs or something before you have to go back into bear form. I cap energy here just a little bit because I think that's an omen proc or something. I'm talking quickly because I'm talking while I watch this. Then back into bear, I'm just going to, as you can see, cast other abilities first, then cast my lacerate. Your mauls are slower on this guy because he reduces your haste, so kind of a pain. I think I was greeding my mauls just a little bit, kind of expecting them to be as fast as normal. Here, again, I cast an ability there where I shouldn't have. I think it was a shred or something, and I go back into... won't have the energy for Rip when it's coming off, so I do a cheeky Flower Shift. I also use Flower Shifts as an opportunity to change my idol to the Rip idol if I go into Cat with the Shred one on, because I'm not expecting to be in there until my next weave, and then do Refresh Rip on the weave after that. Again, you can let Savage Roar drop while you're in bear form. It doesn't affect your bear form abilities at all, or your auto attacks in bear, or anything like that. As long as you recast it immediately when you go into cat form, it's totally fine. Going back into bear, just going to refresh that lacerate. It was falling soon, so I choose to refresh it early at the start of that bear weave. Go back into cat. I'm going to be doing a cheeky weave here. I think I'm going to be refreshing Savage Roar when I come in. My timers are slightly off here, but see, I'm going to refresh Roar. There's only 7 seconds left on Rip, so I'm probably going to do a flower weave here. Yep. You see, that's what I'm talking about, this kind of hybrid style. And we get enough combo points, and we get back into bear form just in time to refresh a 5 stack of lacerate. Look at that. Fucking sexy. To be clear, that probably shouldn't have happened. I did mess up my timers very slightly earlier on the phase. Here I'm desyncing Savage Roar again, with 15 seconds left on Rip. That's tons of time, so I shouldn't have to do any emergency flower shifts. But it didn't cost me my 5 stack lacerate or anything important. And see right here, for instance, I'm going to do a flower shift to swap to the Rip idol. So I got the Shred idol on a couple of extra shreds, and I have time to dump energy, and I have time to then go back into bear, and just about save my 5 stack. So that was a really efficient little 15 seconds or so there. Very happy with that. Same old thing, get up to 5 combo points. There's 12 seconds plus a 2-second extension from the glyph left on Rip. That's what the little icon is in the bottom of my Rip. You'll see it says 1 right now, in a second it'll say 0. That's how many extensions I have that are 2 seconds each from my Shred glyph. At this point, I have Berserk up, but I'm going to... I can't remember if I actually use it here or not. I shouldn't. I should wait until Animus spawns. But this was like 3rd pull of the night or something. Now I was not really thinking. but I am paying attention to the boss. He's getting kind of low. We have a lot of Saronite Vapors. We're going to be seeing see, there's the 7th Saronite Vapor. We're going to be seeing the Animus spawning very soon. I'm still refreshing Rip, because even if the Animus spawns pretty soon, Rip only has to tick a few times to be worth it. It's such a strong ability. If you don't know, the Animus spawning causes General Vezax to get a damage reduction shield for 99% of all damage is reduced, so no point whatsoever in refreshing Rip on him before you move to the Animus. Just move immediately. I also didn't notice fast enough that the Animus had spawned. I have since installed a weak aura that blares on my screen if I'm targeting anyone who has Saronite Barrier. See, there it is. This pops up, but I don't notice it because I'm bad about that. So I waste like 3 seconds there. You'll also notice I let my 5-stack Lacerate drop on the boss because I knew Animus was going to be spawning soon, and it just, you know, it's about the long-term value, and if you're not going to get that long-term value over the next few seconds, you can just let it drop. So I'm on the Animus here. I use my Berserk. I am not stacking Lacerate on the Animus because it's dying too fast. I don't think it'll be worth it. It might be worth it, especially because we have a couple people dead. I run out here trying to battle res them, but they are really far away. They're like out in Africa, so, I mean, you know, fuck that. They had their chance. They were too far away. We're killing the Animus here, and I think this is when the unfortunate incident happens. He gets down to 40%. We're doing fine. I think we have a good amount of mana left at this point. Animus is entering kind of execute range for our one Warlock, I guess. Our Swoop's also a Warlock. So yeah, going well. I'm hovering around 7k. I have been basically all of the fight, and here I get... There it is. I get stomped by General Vezax. Real shame. Absolute shame. I was very irritated by this. This was definitely on track for a rank 1, given that all we had to do was finish off this Animus and move back to the boss, and I was hovering at around 7k, and the current rank 1 is like 6.9. I think it would have been very doable. The reason why I died, we found afterwards, is because our Prot Paladin tank... See, I'm even whispering to the other druid, saying like, hey, I have Brez, if you can Brez me, I can use someone else. Doesn't happen. Our Prot Paladin tank used a glyphed Hand of Salvation on himself as a defensive cooldown, but it also reduces his total threat by a massive amount, which, even though neither me or him was hitting General Vezax, my threat stayed the same. His went down, his went under mine, the boss turned to me and killed me. So we're going to figure that out for next week. I'm just going to get rotating Hand of Salves from the other 2 paladins. So there it is. There is General Vezax. This video doesn't have as many memes as usual because it is just a stand and hit fight. It's a giant target dummy. My main advice is, this is a perfect fight to just practice on the target dummy, in Orgrimmar or in Stormwind. Practice keeping Lacerate 5-stack going for multiple minutes at a time. You can even see me typing angrily in Rage Chat there. Just keep Lacerate going. Don't overcap energy, ever. You can by a tiny amount if you're squeezing in a maul. I'm going to say, I've had a couple comments saying, like, is it worth getting a swing timer? It probably is, just for this fight, because your mauls are so slow. But in general, the reason why top ferals have swing timers is because it allows you to know when you're coming to the end of a bear weave how long it is before your next maul. Because if your next maul is super far out, like over a second out, and you're about to cap energy, you just go straight into cat. But if it's 0.1 seconds out from landing like a fat 8k maul, or whatever your average maul cast is, then you don't want to go into cat. It's worth capping, you know, 4 or 5 or 6 energy for 8k damage, and then going into cat. People say never cap energy, and that is good advice for most ferals. But if you're looking at trying to pass highly and really understanding the spec, then you should know damage per energy is what we consider when we look at things like Rip and Shred and Rake. And there certainly is an amount of energy that you can cap and have a net gain by staying in bear that extra couple fractions of a second to get them all off. And that's why people use swing timers. So I might get a swing timer for this dude next week just because the lack of haste, his haste reduction debuff, really had me kind of, my gut feeling for my swing timer was off, and that's what I normally use, is kind of gut instinct on when my mauls are going to land, and it was just completely thrown off by his minus haste. Anyway, there we go. That's my chat. Good luck on General Vezax. One other thing I want to mention is this is the Warcraft Logs website, warcraftlogs.com, I think articles.classic, whatever, and they have a page called Ulduar Boss Passing Rules. very important if you want to pass well to follow the people who decide the passing rules. They have a Discord server, it's public, you can go there and hang out, or just keep an eye on the website every time a new phase comes out. We talked at length about the bosses, and I think it's pretty good. The team there does a great job in general. You'll often see me in the threads talking about tank requirements or just general boss passing requirements, and we tend to have lively public debates. For General Vezax, I'm really happy with the compromise we came to here. On hard mode, we didn't want people to be punished on hard mode, right? Because you're in a very fast kill towards the end of the phase, you're going to get him low before the Animus spawns, and then everyone's going to have to just stop DPS. It's going to start happening very soon, and it's going to suck. However, to get around this, downtime and damage done between the boss reaching 5% and the Animus spawning is removed. This means that all you have to do is get him to 5% and then stop damage, and it won't count in the logs. It's just gone. It's not there. It'll look like the very last hit that brought General Vezax to 5% is immediately followed by the Saranite Animus spawning. Even if there's a minute in between that actually happening, you won't have any downtime, so your pass will remain, good. The other thing I'll mention is you need to immediately switch to the Animus. Like, my weak aura kind of had a nice little polite message in the middle of the screen. I've now got one that blares a siren at me. As soon as Animus spawns, switch to it, because killing it is an absolute priority, and also because damaging General Vezax when he takes 99% less damage is basically impossible. So that's my tip. Convince your guild to get him below 5% and then stop, and then use Berserk on Animus. It helps you get your rip up faster, and don't die to threat. 6 minutes of bear weaving with lacerate stacking is a ton of threat, so I hope your tanks can handle it. Good luck, my dudes.